one thing that you need to remember about Detroit in particular, Detroit had no major labels operating in Detroit.
Okay, cool.
You would have the major labels would have offices in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, which is over the lake on the other side, right? You would have an RCA office in Chicago. You have a Columbia office, or CBS as you know it, and Capitol and so forth and so on. All the big boys at the time, you know, the Decca, the this, the that. But in Detroit, there was Mr. Barry's flagging enterprise did not have any competition.
Affinity Extra, be extra.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and do not necessarily represent the views of Affinity Extra.
Then this is how we do it on Affinity Extra. We celebrate gospel music, gospel music of black origin, and the conversation that we're going to have, and a conversation that I thought I would never have, which is about talking about this history of secular black music. All my cousins, all my people, love the black music, love the secular music, what we call secular, which is music which is not pointed towards God directly. And again, we do have a problem in our churches many years ago about people listening to secular music. Yes, I don't really have much of a problem with it now. My problem is with antichrist music, which is a different thing to secular music. And Kevin, we could really tear into that. I think that's a very a big subject, because I think that if we do expose that conversation, there's a number of churches which would need to be educated in this area and get better understanding in this area, and Christians as well. Me personally, I don't listen a lot of times to secular music, or antichrist music. I predominantly listen to Christian music, Christian message music. That's me. But I advise you to, because I think it's really good for your soul. But we are talking about music which is not a gospel majority of the times when we look at the black music history, but we're fundamentally looking at the success stories of skin folk, king folk, our people them still too, because too often I find the gospel system is that we're so closed off and we don't realize we are, when it comes to the boss men of music on this earth, without doubt. But the thing is, we operate like we apologize to be in this space. So I'm fed up of apologizing in this space. We play the best tunes. We have hybrid versions being teased from us and somebody else making money. They wait for us to create stuff, and then the next thing you know, guys, it's somebody else. It's somebody else with a light skin, basically it's white skin doing the music and ultimately doing it. So one of the key things we're looking at greatness. Now, we're going to be doing a teaser series today. Teaser are a part of a long-term look of things, because I think it's been over a year since I've been talking to Kevin Tomlin, and believe it or not, we've gotten through 30, up to 30, going on to 30 now episodes, but we haven't really gone in. We touched artists that did time in Motown, but we haven't really done what was Motown. People says, I want the Motown model, I want this. The Motown model, if we have ever done the Motown model in the UK, we would not be in the place where we are now. So it's important for me to do this study with Kevin, to go through the Motown model. But the problem is its impact into the greatest artists in the world, the Jimi Hendrix, the Isley Brothers, and all these guys that are out there. So they were impacted by Motown. 100% still. Whether influenced by its style or influenced by going through the studios, by working with these guys. And Motown wasn't just 5 musicians that got together and played good tunes. It was way bigger than that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's all. So what I know through Motown, there's a couple good artists that came out of there. I know Michael Jackson's connected to Motown. I believe the Jackson 5. Is that correct, Kevin? Yeah. That's about all I really know. You know what I mean? So I've we're gonna let Kevin tease us into Motown, but Kevin said he's got some more stuff to be going through in terms of Chicago, icons of Chicago, a few things that we need to do before we go into Motown, because Motown could easily be up to 8 parts of a story. It's breaking down the individuals that made it work, the engineers that made it work. You know what I'm saying? We need to really understand the engineers that the guy that you see the back of in the orchestra, you just see his back, you know, that's all you do, see him wave his hand and do that, is some of the key guys to make the music world class. Yeah? But the thing is, we failed to this day to come down together. You know what I mean? I must admit, guys, it makes my blood boil when I saw, I don't know, Kevin, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna, oh, sorry. Don't go there. Right. When I was ready to slam down some people when they talk about heritage. But before you open your mouth when it talks to heritage, and before you open your mouth, study. I open my mouth, guys. You know what I mean? I would open my blaze up and said, "Yo, Honor Man, them never did nothing." But when I actually studied, I realized that the system held back our people, our own people, held back our own people. The lack of power brokers. Now, if you've been watching me and Kevin, that phrase power brokers and also creative baton change, them are 2 major buzzwords out there that we've used continually, that we have not done in the UK. Name me a power broker in the UK that's not on the stage that you could say that they make deals for the betterment. Yes, they'll be sorted in their back pockets, but for the betterment of black music. There's people that could have been, but there's nobody who we can say about. And creative baton change? Really? Have we really handed down that our children will be greater than us? Not really, you know. We have children doing good stuff. But are they producing for the big international artists that we have done in the 90s? The question is no. And that fundamentally believes is, do you believe in yourself? And do you understand the way forward? But anyway, why I have to go on like that, because the reality show is that Motown, for all its critics, did something amazing. Yeah, so we're gonna tease. Kevin's gonna tease us into this. Sorry, guys. I'm here to learn. So go, Kevin, man. You go for it.
Motown is a real miracle, considering the time it actually started. Jim Crow laws, the black oppression, the lack of opportunity in many states within the union, and the probably one of the things that allow Motown to coexist in the establishment. At the time, there was several major labels operating. It's not like the big 3 or big 4 now that has taken up all those labels that was offered in the past. Motown started in 1959 as Tamla Records before it went to eventually until it evolved into Motown Corporation later on.
Okay.
Motown is a very it started its distribution, its record was distributed by different labels prior to it deciding to distribute its record itself, with key people in the background helping them. Another interesting thing, and this is all summary, the Gordy family was involved in the day-to-day operation of the label. So the actual family were involved in different things. The sister was involved. I think one of the sisters was involved in making sure that the Motown record collect its royalties from the big boys and so on.
Okay.
They get paid. Make sure the labor gets paid to keep the operation going. And the label actually was started with a loan from the father.
Okay.
Because his father was an entrepreneur, was a builder, a contractor. So, they weren't a family that was short of change in most respects.
Okay, cool.
They're very respected in the community. And of course, Berry Gordy had actually had a shop that was selling jazz, but he didn't do well. He went bust and so on. But he's always, and then he did write some songs with I think it was a distant cousin. I think Billy Davis. I can't remember what the relationship was. Between, he was his friend, and they come together and wrote hit songs for Jackie Wilson. That's the first time he's actually got into the music industry as a, in terms of songwriting and so on, co-wrote songs. Which they were big numbers. They're big numbers. The Berry Gordy, when Berry Gordy started, his music was, which we'll go into detail, were distributed by others. So he was at the mercy of those who distribute his album and get it onto the charts. Okay. Then one day, Smokey Robinson suggested to him to actually market his own records and so forth, and do it, and have better control, creative control in every way.
Come on, man.
And so the rest is history, really. So Smokey Robinson was there at the beginning with him and some other people. And then as time go by, there was one person in terms of the Motown or the Detroit music community was a key person, and that was Mickey Stevenson. Mickey Stevenson probably is one of the first major A&R man in music history for black music. He was instrumental.
Mickey Stevenson, yeah?
Yeah, he was instrumental in actually getting the Motown sound developed with the musicians he recruited from the jazz clubs and so on. Because the interesting thing that you need to understand, that the Motown sound was actually created and developed by jazz musicians mainly. They were actually brilliant. Most of them are extraordinarily talented.
How close is jazz music to gospel, bro? Because a lot of people say it's very it's similar, but would you say it's similar?
It is the jazz music is an outgrowth from the black experience, of course. It is from that how it started, just like blues and so forth. And then you got country blues, which comes out from the black experience. All of them. Sometimes there's similarities, because when you look at the gospel, a lot of the gospel music can be regarded as very innovating, because it's stuff that the platonic level of instrumentation and so forth, what is actually used traditionally of gospel. But gospel has so much evolved till it has actually impacted soul. and when you look at Motown is a very commercial aspect of soul, which become very pop in.
Yeah, very pop. Yeah, you're popular. Yeah.
But listen to this. When Motown started, it was surrounded by piano, bass line, rhythm guitarist, drummer, and some horns. Right? I Want Some Money, the first one done by Barrett Straw. That was the first biggest hit. That really got these going, right? And written by both a female staff member with Berry Gordy, and sometime Barrett Straw said he was involved in the writing, but I don't know, they have all these disputes and arguments as usual. But when you look at the early days of Motown, it was very much horn driven. You listen to the early stuff.
Okay.
It was until it reached about 64 when it incorporated a string section by the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and then it took it to another level in sound.
So with let's get a bit of context to Detroit, because I think that like we like to do with the Bible, we start preaching about the area, the whatever. You got a city, a very big city, an industrial city, where a lot of the black population, because of oppression in the south,
they migrated up
to the north. And I think this is one of the things that we fail to realize in when we study Americas. We don't realize that basically a lot of the ghettos or the areas full of black people were literally people moving with basically just like the migration of the Caribbean people to the England, they moved over into an area facing, and the thing is, it was apparently going to be better for them because there's less racism. Yes, in one sense it was better, but in other sense they still face systemic racism at a high level because they put them in the ghetto areas, and let's be real, it's not like they go up there and they're loaded with money. They still, everything costs more. And they found themselves in as much poverty as there was in the South, but they got sold a dream by a few others because, fair play, if you're not going to get no KKK knocking your door every 2 seconds, I suppose it's always going to be better up in the North. And a lot of people left, and there's still a lot of people in the South, don't get it twisted, but a lot of people left to go up there, and to this very day, them areas that they moved to, where this music is birthed out of, is poor, very poor and very deprived. So tough times.
Yeah, it's this is an interesting thing. Before the what you call the welfare state developed in the US in particular, black people had a way of developing their little mum and pop stores and so forth, and developed their different enterprise where they did something probably similar to partner as we know it, where they put together and they buy things and they buy property together collectively, and each one of them become house owners and so on and so forth and so on. And remember too, at that time you had the automobile industry, which Detroit was its center of activity.
100%. Ford,
Chrysler,
General Motors, yeah.
And then you have all these sub-manufacturers that supply the different things to these big manufacturers, and some of them probably might be black owned or part black and part white and so on. And one thing that you need to remember about Detroit in particular, Detroit had no major labels operating in Detroit.
Okay, cool.
You would have the major labels would have offices in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, which is over the lake on the other side, right? You would have an RCA office in Chicago. You have a Columbia office, or CBS as you know it, and Capitol and so forth and so on. All the big boys at the time, the Decca, the this, the that. But in Detroit, there was Mr. Barry's flagging enterprise did not have any competition.
Right.
Didn't.
Right.
So it had all the raw talent within the city. Most of them were competent jazzmen. And then remember, he had the opportunity to have the classical community at his fingertip.
Okay.
Yes?
Okay. Yep.
And then possibly have some of the best sound engineers in the city and surrounding area, which eventually he attracted over time. White guys who did the mastering and cutting and so forth. So at one point in the summary, he had some of the best people in the industry working for him.
It's incredible.
So he developed a very fantastic, and then he managed to buy a premises, and eventually name it Itsville, USA, his head operation. And then he developed a studio which is nicknamed called the Snake Pit because of its size and everything. But in that Snake Pit, you will have at one time you have a bunch of string players, part of the symphony orchestra, led by Stepney Gordon, a Jewish guy. Listen to that. With string arrangements done by Paul Reiser. All the legendary songs. Paul Reiser was one of the string staff members who was responsible for that. He's the same guy who did the strings on Never Too Much by Luther Vandross.
Oh, okay. Well, never too much. That is him. Okay.
Yeah. And he's the same guy on I Heard It Through the Grapevine from Marvin Gaye. He had the strings on that. Yeah.
Wow, these are hits, man. So, sorry, I don't know. You're straight teasing me, you know, because
Yeah, I'm just doing it, giving you a summary,
oh my days, you got Marvin Gaye, you got Luther Vandross.
Yeah.
That are doing hits that are still being played to this very day.
Same string arranger from Motown. He was a staff string arranger. He was a trombonist actually. He came from there, but he became a competent.
He's a black guy.
Classically
trained.
He was a classical master.
Was he a black guy or was he a white guy?
Yeah, man, the black guy.
Wow.
The white guy who led the Detroit Symphony Orchestra string section is white. Charles Stepney. Cool. He was responsible for them, keeping them at the supervisor, making sure. But the brother who did the arrangement and the string and conduct it was Larry Gold. Larry Gold was responsible for nearly all the hits that came out from 64 onward. Like, for instance, Where Do I Love Grow? Where Do My Love Go? Baby Love, which was a transatlantic hit.
So, Larry Gold. Wait. Because I know we're going to...
Not Larry Gold. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. Because Larry Gold is my favorite string arranger, but he's from Philly. Yeah. I have to keep on reminding myself.
Yeah. Cool.
Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser.
Sorry, I do apologize.
Cool.
That's part of my little something I forget. Paul Reiser has done more string arrangement done on many of the hits that came out of Motown. Like, for instance, My Girl, My Guy, I Hear a Symphony, yes, Baby Love, and so forth. All the hits, all the number one hits that the Supremes had, he was practically on the strings with that. Yeah. I'm Gonna Make You Love Me. It's incredible. He's just there are other string arrangers, of course, as well, but he was the main string arranger that the Olin Dozon Olin and Berry Gordy and the other producers used.
Kevin, do you think now, it's something that it just come to me when talking to you now, do you feel, and I always try to apply things and look at how we can do things better in gospel music, in the UK, from what you're saying, do you feel that when we go classical as an individual, it's like we leave gospel music? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We leave black music. We just do something totally. We're going to classical. And do you find that we have to realize that this string arrangement element and arranging music a certain way has got everything to do, can make our music to another level? And I think we just haven't used it, because I know we have people that are classically trained. I know for myself, I could have been a brass instrumentist, but I know my dad looked at the piano and said that would be better used for a church for you to be on the piano, but I never really had the passion for that. I learned how to play piano to grade 2, but then I wanted to, I had a trombone. And even my parents forget that they stopped me from playing trombone. I even said to them the other day, Kevin said, "Yo, Dad, even when I brought the trombone home?" And they said, "Nah, take it back to school." I was only 9 at 10 at a time, and but the thing is, we just didn't see how it could fit within our traditional setup. And I feel that, that's something which you're emphasizing here. You have string arrangers, you have brass quartets, you have brass string arrangers generally can orchestrate things in brass sections and stuff. It brings organization to the music, a delivery to the music, which just sends you, when you listen to certain musics, like it says, it won't be finished until you have the strings in it. I know we play it in on the keyboards, but to have that classically trained people feeling comfortable in the black music field of gospel music and bringing that element to it, I think is an art which we haven't gripped in the UK.
Yeah, let me just explain something to you. Fritz McIntyre or Bishop Jeremiah, the late Bishop Jeremiah McIntyre, who used to be the residing bishop for New Testament Church of God and a district overseer and so forth. He was classically trained, because he was a multi-instrumentalist. He was a saxophonist, trombonist, and he could play the piano classically and so on. And his daughter was classically trained, Pamela, and also Frix McIntyre. A lot of people don't know that he was classically trained. So when you listen to Frix do play "If You Don't Know Me By Now" on the keyboard, it's like a total. If you listen to it, it's like a total orchestration. He's playing like a strings.
I got you.
All of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So this is the thing. I don't know if you. I remember when we had a meeting with GMIA and we were talking with the rock school, and then Ken Burnt, who was the classically trained brother, came on and he was talking about the lack of where the backing singers from many of the backing singers from our community could not read the charts and notes that he wanted to coincide with the classically trained, and it was a frustration for him at the time, because the classical community, some of the brothers are saying they were saying almost like as if they're amateurs. Now our brothers and sisters can sing extraordinary, right? But this is the secret with the Motown situation, that by the time the string orchestration came to the Motown, came into the studio, the band, which is the Funk Brothers, was so tight and in a level of syncopation that when the strings came on, it just color it and give it cream.
Wow. Yeah, man.
Because the brothers. Okay, I'll give you an example. I could go on, but I'm just giving you an example and whetting people's appetite. The late James Jamerson, who was the main bass player, who could play upright bass as well as the other bass. He went to the drugstore to get something, or the pharmacy, depends on, they call it drugstore. While he was away, they paused the sound, they paused what they were doing. And they said that when he came back in, he took up from where he left off and everything went smoothly. There was no, what do we need to do? They were so tight.
Crazy.
That they just were, it was about, there was, this is great. By the time at a certain point in, this is just to show you how Motown was so innovating. Sometime on one track they would have two drummers playing at the same time to create some damage, and then they had a percussionist named Jack Ashford, and amongst other people. There was a white percussionist, there was a female percussionist, and these people played with such such accuracy and concise. They were so tight that they could actually play. They can actually play for different producers, right? And able to give each producer their tracks their individuality.
Okay.
Norman Whitfield had a different. He had a more funk, psychedelic funk approach. Then you had Ashford and Simpson had a lush quality approach. Ain't No Mountain High Enough to Reach. There's all this different quality of arrangement, and then you have the Holland and Dozer style of doing production, and then you have all the other. You have the Nicky Stevens with his other people doing, like things. Things like Nowhere to Hide, and different things. So they're creating all these different sounds, and you have the Mandelas, all the different vocal groups that were actually distinguishing themselves.
So so in terms of keep retaining individuality, obviously we again, guys, this is just a teaser about Motown. To give you an idea of the artists that they've impacted. So ultimately, you've got a team of people which have the ability to create different sounds for different bands, almost pulling. Okay, they're gonna have Charlie on the bass today, but they have prime bass players, I suppose, doing sessions, and they were able to give everybody the individual sound, but at the same time, almost develop a teamwork and what you're saying, the vibe. the musicianship was that tight.
But
So ultimately,
incredible. It was credible.
So
they knew each other, that they could almost guess what so and so with Van Dyke is going to do on the keyboard, and Van Dyke understood the drummer and the bassist was so tight that they're constant in syncopation, and there was two key rhythm guitarists, Robert White and the other person Joe, who passed away recently. You know, it was one of the most successful multiracial group, actually.
Yeah.
You had white brothers in there, white and sisters. Yeah.
Beautiful.
The engineers were predominantly white, but there were a few black brothers get to learn. They had a guy by the name of Mohon. It's his name. I think it's Lawrence Mohon. Was actually a audio technician. He could build things from. Actually, most of the Motown stuff was actually built from scratch. They built a sort of bespoke sound engineering desk. Motown is just Motown to me. Yes, there were lots of challenges in politics, a lot of things go on. Yeah, but it is almost a miracle if you think about in the scheme of things how it. It was so successful as a label. At one time, it would dominate the charts. It would have hits. Like one person would go number one, and then another Motown recording artist go number one behind it. And then at the end of the year, Motown is at the top. Yeah, they begin the year and at the top. It just.
And the thing is, the reality show is, guys, Motown still has an influence right up to this very, very day.
Yes, it does.
And something that you want to emphasize, yes, there was a black struggle at the time, but black businesses and at the time still hired white, they still hired the best for what they needed to achieve. And the creativity, you see me talk about blackness and proud to be black, but at the same time is, we can't do this by ourselves. You know what I mean? We work with people who are the best in their fields, and I've seen it. I've seen it come together. But the thing is, what I love to see is being black-owned businesses that transcend, that gives the inspiration for the next generation. It gives inspiration for Puff Daddy. You know what I'm saying? Without Motown, would there be a Puff Daddy? Yeah,
possibly not. There probably wouldn't be a Babyface and L.A. Reid. Probably there won't be a Gamble Enough. Because Gamble Enough practically build their model almost from Motown, where they brought in the best studio musicians, orchestration, best sound engineer, and the best to create a sound that is unique in itself. And the same thing happened in Chicago. The best musicians work between all these labels and create small enterprise on Record Row.
Crazy.
The thing about it, the music was so profound that people in other cities were trying to copy the Motown sound because there was a sophistication and lushness. If you listen to baby love, my baby love, and there's and the strings, it's almost polished and clean. It's almost there's a level of sophistication. Well, you think about it, it's coming out a city that is not on the West Coast. It's not from New York, and it's not from the East. It's not from New York, and it's not in the West in Los Angeles. It's coming out an industrial city. Yes,
and the fight is real. And the thing is, we had the sound system culture in the UK. I'm saying, and we built and we built up a number of things. We built up sound boxes. Man could build this, could build that, and we had the culture. We just didn't push it forward.
Unfortunately, that's the thing.
That's what we allow other cultures to take our culture, make money from it, and big it up, and we just side people from it. And this is the thing, is, guys, we've done it with drum and bass in this UK, because for me, drum and bass is one of the first authentic UK sounds from Afro-Caribbeans in this country. You know what I mean?
Then what happened to it?
It's basically it's white people, white owned, white people. It's massive, bro. Right now, they even
wait a minute. Are you telling me a sound that is authentically house is being siphoned?
Oh, but because Wisdom said to me in your meeting, and we can get Wisdom on, and he can explain that we had to show the gentrification of, because remember, it's jungle back in the day. We used to go to jungle, massive. You always into jungle, and the thing is, it was great, fantastic, and now evolved into drum and bass, and people started calling it drum and bass. But effectively, it was still jungle. The emphasis, the vibe is still there. It's still big to this day. Still got its charts. But what you find now, it is produced by white people. They're doing a great job of it, but we're nowhere to be seen. And that's clean. And that can happen to gospel as well if we're not careful.
Yeah. Okay. Oh dear.
Oh, let's open up a one there, so far, Kevin. But what we can do, Kevin, before we even touch that subject, we can actually bring somebody in on that to have a conversation about that. We can get Wisdom in and break down, because that's a clear example of what can happen to other black styles of music. Because
I think Wisdom, you see. You see, Wisdom can give us a very interesting perspective, because there's a lot of things I missed because I was in the States.
That's correct. Yes.
I was watching what was going on with P. Diddy and Kurt Franklin and all of them, and this Vicky Latte, who was involved with gospel, eccentric, etc. Because there was some serious board games going on, creatively speaking. That was, I mean,
yeah, man. That's something, bro. It's a continued gentrification and people making money off what we've invested in, and I think that it's high time now. We gotta be standing up on our 2 feet. But listen, guys, we're gonna round up this little teaser of Motown, and obviously, you know, there's a hint there at the end what we've seen already about how music has been gentrified, and our kids don't earn what we create. We created something, and our kids don't earn a penny from it. Yeah, and they can't get jobs. They're not getting jobs in the industry. They're not getting key jobs, and they're underpaid.
Oh dear.
Sorry, that's just opening up pure wounds with that one. But
I think, Roger, I've come to the conclusion of a few things, and I will talk to you about it, because it's time that, because of what we've done in terms of material, I think it's time to take it to the next level now, because to actually talk to some people who, one thing I noticed with a lot of people of a certain, they tend to they're watching you, but they're not interested in actually coming to you and seeing what you're doing, and say, oh, here you are. And this is what I really admire about the US in many different ways. You have the Clive Davis, and you have several like Jerry Wadsell and so on, that looks at the various different inner cities and listen to what's going on at ground level and said, these people. And if we had godfathers like the Clarence Evan, who is actually listening on ground floor level and see to broker deals with emerging hit makers, like what he did with LA Babyface and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, it would be a different, because we have very powerful individuals within the industry, but the problem is that we still haven't developed the collectiveness, the collectiveness where we're working as a big, powerful creative force that's covering all of us and making sure that we're all safe and well paid, and not struggling. Because the thing about the end of the day is that how many of us are really getting an appropriate share of the pie and are willing to help others to reach that level? And I don't know, I can't really, but one thing I'm going to say, Roger, where you are and what you're doing, I admire what you gentlemen are doing in Birmingham, because it's the first time I actually see something that is very rich and it's coming from the ground.
Amen.
And it's potentially could become a major force, which it is becoming a major force.
Amen.
So we pray that our youngsters will get benefited from what we are creating.
No, 100%, my brother, 100%.
Rich blessings.
Very appreciate that. Listen, guys, we are going to be, that's the teaser into Motown, but also a little bit of a conclusion of where we are, what we need to be in music in the UK, and where we need to step up to, and 100% anyway. So yeah, guys, yeah. So guys, just put down Motown in your Wikipedia. Get ready for, I would say, the September period and the October period for us to be bringing through studies and information about the Motown group.
And not only that, apart from Motown, but the city of Detroit, because some serious brothers came out from there that with some major hits, and some other creative entity. That's just a teaser.
All right, guys, let's get on this, man. But listen, Kevin, thanks again for coming on here on Affinity Extra. We're going to finish off with some Byron Cage, Karen Clark, and some Marvin Winans, you know what I mean? There's a bit of Detroit in that as well, isn't it? The Winans, I'm sure they're Detroit.
There you are.
Okay, sorry, guys. Sorry.
Fred Hammond.
We should... I'm not sure PJ...
A different... Oh my goodness,
PJ Morton, I'm sure that he was from them areas as well.
And there's several people from Detroit that was key to the gospel fraternity, bruv.
Okay. You hear it first here on Affinity Extra, celebrating gospel music of Black origin. This is how we do it alongside myself and Kevin. We do a study on Black music history. This is how we do it, man. Nothing but love. Kevin, you take care, my brother. I'm going to play this track out, and guys, enjoy the vibe anyway still. Yeah, guys?
Yes. Peace.
Hey, this is your Bishop from Rock Solid. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for clicking and subscribing, and also sending these videos to other people as well. We are so hungry to get your support. So remember, check us out on our website, and also check us out on Insta, and wherever you want to find us on Spotify. You can play us all day as well. And just make sure that you are supporting this channel, that we are developing our agenda towards music of Black origin, and that is gospel music with a message. So please walk with us on this journey. Bye now.